We have always reacted against the previous album. The previous album was a very beautifully crafted, big-sounding concept album with a political agenda. We decided the next album would be up pop music, and this is the period where Girls Aloud are churning out classic singles like Biology, produced by Xenomania. We suddenly thought this would be a marriage made in heaven, Pet Shop Boys and Xenomania. We go down to the little town outside London where Xenomania is based and meet Brian Higgins, very charismatic, interesting character, completely obsessed by hit records. So, of course, I feel an affinity with him immediately. And he revealed to us afterwards he had no intention of making an album with us. He just thought it'd be quite nice to meet us. But we come out the meeting, he's making the album.
Is this a riot? Are you just pleased to see me? Why aren't we holding hands and talking sweet? I love you really, though I know no one believes me. There's chaos every time we meet. Oh no, what you gone and done? You're creating pandemonium. That song you sing means everything to me. I live in ecstasy. The stars and the sun dance to your drum. And now it's pandemonium.
So it was a very different way of working, very different way of working.
So we suddenly enter the world of the modern songwriting team, where you have a bit of a backing track and you sing words.
This is where we first came across the word lyricking.
One of Girls Aloud said, I'm really looking forward to lyricking. And Chris said, we call that writing lyrics. And actually, it was exciting being in the studio, and Cheryl Cole, as she was sitting in the sort of reception. And it re-energised us with pop music and this discipline of leaving your ego at the door and writing a song with other people was quite inspiring, actually.
Brian is in one room and he gets USB sticks with mixes of all sorts of things going on and plays them and then sort of directs the whole thing. And then there are teams of people in various rooms around the house doing various bits and pieces, and various rooms in an old house. And the house had something to do with...
It's where the real Alice in Wonderland had lived. Alice Liddell.
Yeah. So one of the studios was her bedroom. Completely different to how Trevor works. With Trevor, you're in a studio and you're all as a team, but this is fragmented working. I was sent off to do something over there, and
Chris was given a load of backing tracks, backing tracks, and told to write melodies over
top
them.
lines and things. So it was a hive of activity.
It was fun.
It was really
good fun. And the single Love Etc. was a track they had lying around, and Chris heard it and said...
I wouldn't let it lie.
No.
I kept saying, well, that track you played.
The one with the triplets feel?
Yes.
And finally we got it, and we wrote with Miranda, one of their writers. She and I sang over the top of it.
It's tough getting up.
In March 2009, the Pet Shop Boys released their 10th album for Parlophone Records. The Grammy-nominated Yes.
Well, I'm going to choose from Yes one of the songs that we actually wrote with the Xenomania people. And it's a sort of ballad with a story about a relationship breaking up. So I also sounded rather French. And it's called The Way It Used to Be.
I'm here. You're there. Come closer. Tonight I'm lonely. Come here with me. I want it the way it used to be. What is left of love? Tell me who would even care? So much time has passed. I still meet you anywhere. Water under bridge. Evening after day. What is left of love? Here that didn't drift away. I was there, caught on 10th Avenue. You elsewhere with compensated blues. Then and there, I knew that I'd lost you.
As the eyes of the world turned to London for the 2012 Olympic Games, the Pet Shop Boys headed for the sun and a project that would ultimately become their final studio album for Parlophone Records.
Trevor Horn once suggested to us, really ages and ages ago, that we should make what he called an LA album, by which he meant an album where you go to LA and you get lots of studio musicians who are the top studio musicians in the world and makes a very smooth, incredibly produced LA album. And for some reason this idea always vaguely appealed to us. Kanye West made his very beautiful, rather introspective album, 808s and Heartbreak. And I said, why don't we work with the person who did this? And we couldn't even get him to return our manager's phone calls. And then looking down the list of credits on this Kanye album was this guy, Andrew Dawson, who was the engineer. We thought, oh, let's see what else he's done. And so we approached him and he was really keen.
It's taken me all of my life. It's taken me all of my life to find you. It's taken me all of my life. It's taken me all of my life to find you. It's taken me all of my life. It's taken me all of my life to find you. It's taken me all of my life. It's taken me all of my life to find you.
Elysium was released in September 2012 and was described by critics as warm and wise, blending the tranquil beauty of Chris Lowe's synth textures with the realization that Neil Tennant is on top lyrical form.
We went to LA for almost 3 months.
You get a different sound to records where they're made. I mean, records that are made in New York have a very distinctive sound. Records made in LA have a sort of sheen and a polish, and they just have a different quality. And we wanted to have a record that had that LA class to it.
Chris wanted this album to be a bit like Behaviour, very reflective, a late night album, a coming back home listening to it album, not a getting up in the morning or going out album. It's introspective in terms of its subject matters and moody in terms of the music, but it's Californian moody. Invisible, the second track, which is a very beautiful song, is sort of about growing old. It's also, when I was writing, I was thinking about what it would be like to be a ghost. I'm here, but you can't see me. I'm invisible.
I'm invisible. I'm here, but you can't see me. I'm invisible. It's queer how gradually I've become invisible. Look at me, the absentee, disappearing finally. Goodbye. Is it magic or the truth? Strange psychology or justified by the end of you?
I think the first two tracks are two of the best songs we've ever written and produced. Invisible and Leaving. At this point in one's life, my parents just died. And so Leaving is about, sort of inspired by that. The lyrics are a bit more oblique than that, but it's about that.
I know when enough's enough and you're leaving, you've had enough time to decide on your freedom, but I can still find some hope to believe in love. Our love is dead, but the dead are here to stay. They made us what we are. They're with us every day. In darkest nights, their memory keeps us strong. And if our love is dead, it won't be dead for long.
We did the strings at Capitol Studios, you know, in the famous studio where Frank Sinatra used to sing. It's definitely got something of California. That's why we called it Elysium. There's a park in Los Angeles called Elysium Park, is it?
Well, not an old people song.
I don't know.
No, there's some talk.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Some talk on Twitter.
Yes.
Still find some hope to believe in love.
I think Andrew Dawson did a very lovely job on this. When we left Los Angeles, he was still working on it, and we finished it off by sort of email, you know. But we set out to make an LA album, and I think we made one.
The track I would like to listen to from Elysium is Hold On.
Hold on, hold on. There's got to be a future. Hold on.
Neil had the idea of, well, this piece of music you like, was it by Handel or somebody?
It's by Handel.
Yeah. Anyway, so it took ages programming all the parts. And then I don't think you expected me to do the entire piece, did you?
No, I just wanted to take 8 bars of this piece by Handel and sort of loop it.
But I programmed
and I went out for a run.
And I programmed the entire piece. And also it's one of those songs where you had the lyrics.
And Chris then set the lyrics to a new melody over Handel's chords.
No easy task, let me tell you. And I know the fans don't appreciate the amount of work that went into that, because they don't like it, do they?
People don't like it.
No, and that's why they're wrong. That's where they're wrong, sorry.
Also, in this period, I'd seen that documentary about the Wrecking Crew, the musicians who played on all the 60s records like Mums and Poppers. So on this one track, we have 2 lots of backing singers. We have the Waters, who are family who sang on the Jackson 5 and all sorts of things, all the way through to Adele. And Andrew Dawson found this jazz vocal harmony group called Sonos.
But I really like the lyrics to this one. I just love the way it sort of captures lots of little elements of modern life. Traffic jams and barking dogs and all these little snippets of modern day.
Hold on, there's got to be a future, or the world will end today. ground. The rain is falling from the sky. Planes taking off to fly. Swooping birds and barking dogs. Shopping malls and catalogs. Traffic stopped on busy streets. Lovers lying between the sheets. Business models, computer freaks. Modern artists, new techniques. Money comes and money goes. Children cry and still suppose there's got to be a future. Hold on, hold on, hold on. There's got to be a future. Hold on.
I'm not as concerned about chart positions as Neil or Morrissey might be. So it doesn't really bother me that much, really. I mean, it'd be nice to be, top of the charts all the time and everything. It doesn't bring you any happiness, if that matters to anybody. It's nice to be successful, and it's nice to be loved more than anything, isn't it? And we do get a lot of love from our fans. In dwindling numbers.
Thank you for that last phrase. It was going so well up to that point. I was getting quite moved. When we made this album, I thought it was definitely going to be one of the best albums we'd ever made. In fact, Parlophone came over for the Grammys. We went to the EMI Grammy party, and everyone was very excited about it. In Britain, it was a bit disappointing. Germany, top 3. But actually, I do think it's a very strong album. I mean, we're coming off the back of Yes, which did really well. And Parlophone were very supportive. They liked the idea of who we were working with. In terms of the record company, we're not thinking, we're leaving, here's a farewell album. Because actually, the next album, Electric, which came out on our own label, through Cobalt, actually was going to be, for most of the time, was going to be released by Parlophone. And then we decided to make the break. I mean, when we left Parlophone, it was pretty... I think they were quite surprised, but it was quite a good time to leave, because it's... Actually, after we left Parlophone, Parlophone left EMI.
It took us so long, we worked so hard, we came so far just to compete. But don't forget all the love and laughter. Now the world is at our feet. Looking back at all the times we felt downcast, didn't think we were going anywhere, just living in the past. But in that desperation, you get inspiration. You're a winner, I'm a winner. Let's enjoy it while it lasts, 'cause you're a winner. You've been around, but you don't look too rough, and I still quite like some of your early stuff. It's bad in a good way, if you know what I mean. The sound of those old machines.
I'm quite happy to look back at the Pet Shop Boys' history, but it's not something that Chris and I dwell on personally that much. We really prefer to look at what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing.
Isn't it always with a sense of shame?
With a sense of shame, of course.
Remember those days, the early 90s. We both applied for places at the same university. Ended up in London where we needed to be, to follow our obsession with the music scene. Wherever we went, whatever we did, we knew the songs. They called us the Pop Kids, 'cause we loved the pop hits and quoted the best bits. So we were the Pop Kids. I loved you. They called us the Pop Kids.
Thanks to Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe.